Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the ASMG Back Pass for the 2025 spring season in the UPSL Premier. A major topic this week will be what's happening at the foot of the table concerning the relegation struggles. Obviously, teams generally want to remain in the Premier Division because it offers opportunities not available in Division 1, like advancement to the national competition and a chance to share in over $155,000 in prize money and an elevated competitive status to help their clubs grow and give more opportunities to their players and supporters. It's a competitive structure most of the world employs, and this adds a compelling component to the league. In the United States, the UPSL is currently the only league that practices this type of structure. Although it's in its present form, Pro Rel remains in a single league, but because of the size of the UPSL, with over 500 clubs nationwide at all levels, this provides competitive incentives for teams that other leagues cannot match. All of this comes at a reasonable investment for the clubs so that more resources can be focused on the actual club and players, which is vastly different than a franchise model which most American sports employ. As for the Georgia Premier Division, the bottom two teams in the Premier Division table at the end of the season will be relegated to Division 1 for the coming fall season. But before we get into the actual circumstances of what's happening for those teams dealing with relegation, we need to first review some of the recent results from the past weekend. So we start with the first game that we had to cover. That will be Dalton United, who are hosting FC Birmingham. FC Birmingham were struggling to get out of the relegation zone. Unfortunately for them, they lost this game 5-0, a heavy defeat for Dalton United, for FC Birmingham. And this confirmed the relegation for FC Birmingham, the first club to experience that. And so this is a turnaround for Dalton United, who had a heavy defeat themselves the previous week. But they are able to finish strongly and give themselves an opportunity for home field advantage, possibly in the coming division playoffs. So the next game that we had was North Georgia United falling heavily to Kalanji Pro Profile. Kalanji Pro Profile taking another step onward to a division title this season. North Georgia still dropping off with their sixth defeat in a row. Still hanging on to that last playoff spot right now, but a lot depends on what's going to happen this coming weekend as to whether or not they're going to be able to even stay in the playoff picture or not. And so everybody will be looking for that to between these two teams. Both of them have must win for different reasons. So Kalanji Pro Profile, of course, going for another division title, but North Georgia trying to hang on to a playoff spot and reset their season in the playoffs if at all possible. So the third game that we have to go to is UMA FC with a vital win for them against Georgia Athletic. This 3-1 victory they had gives them still, they're firmly in the playoffs, but it gives them a outside chance at home field advantage depending on what happens in the last game of the season. Georgia Athletics in the playoffs also have an outside chance at home field advantage. So both of these teams, it was a good result for UMA FC, pushes them up the table a little bit. But Georgia Athletics still in the hunt for home field advantage. And it's going to be an interesting division playoffs as we look at these teams going down the results from this past week. And next up, of course, we have the SSL game against Georgia Revolution. Georgia Revolution with a strong 5-0 victory against SSL FC. It didn't hurt SSL FC as much because of other results when it concerns the relegation race, and we'll get into that in detail in just a moment. But Georgia Revolution giving themselves really a firm hold on home field advantage if they can finish out strongly here. But this is a vital win, emphatic win that you saw on ASMG TV this past weekend. And of course, the last game of the weekend that was played is Potros with a really massive win against Fountain City FC, and really keeps them in the hunt for the division title, does Potros. Nazario Mbamio, of course, with a hat trick, Mark Bonneau with a brace, and those two are in the the high charts for the Golden Boot for this season. Looks like Mbamio is on 15. We'll get into that list as well, but he seems the strong favorite for the Golden Boot for this season as the season closes out this week. Tristan Scheidel, the shining star for Fountain City in attack, was able to get a consolation goal for Fountain City on the day, but it's going to be nervy time for Fountain City in the final weekend as they look for survival. And again, as I said, we'll look into those scenarios in just a moment. But a brief review of the entire weekend here, as we just went over the other results there. There were 2 games that were postponed due to severe weather, and these are parameters that we have to hold on for the safety of the players and the supporters at the venues. But Pachuca and FC Columbus are going to have to reschedule their game. I believe that game's going to be played either tomorrow or Thursday of this week. We'll let everybody know on ASMG TV as soon as we find out. And then Leminho, Georgia, and Albion, which will probably be next week, as Albion already has a makeup game coming up tomorrow against Kalanji Pro Profile, which of course we'll go over too before we close out this episode. So these are the results and the penultimate weekend of the Premier Division in the Georgia Premier of the UPSL. And so right now, it's probably a good time to go into the different relegation scenarios. We'll bring up the division table here, which we'll need to, and we'll probably need a slide rule as well to go over all the different scenarios when it comes down. We'll look at the foot of the table here when it comes down to what's going to happen as far as the relegation struggles to these teams at the bottom of the table. So let's give this a try. And first, let's just note that, in a 14-team division like this, places 10 through 14 are the ones of interest that we want to talk about right now. FC Birmingham is the only club so far confirmed relegated, currently on 4 points there, as you see. With a best case scenario, even if they win their last game, they're still going to get up to 7 points, which will not be enough to get them out of the relegation places. So as for the other teams near the relegation zone, let's look at the different scenarios now. All right, so let's look at scenario 1. Now, Albion is currently in the relegation zone with FC Birmingham, but have 3 games left to play. So 2 of these games are makeup games. They'll be midweek games, and then I have a game on the weekend. Albion are on 8 points. They had 3 points deducted earlier in the season due to a home forfeit. And so that's the damaging part for them that has them in this predicament. But if Albion loses tomorrow night against Kalanji Pro Profile in their makeup match, but wins Saturday and Fountain City lose their last game, Albion's will survive on 11 points, even if they lose the makeup game against Leminho next week. So Fountain City will go down on 9 points in that scenario. So scenario 2. If Albion loses 2 games and ties 1, Fountain City will survive, even if City loses, because although they will be even on Albion on 9 points, Fountain City gets the tiebreaker rule by virtue of having defeated Albion in the regular season. That's that head-to-head tiebreaker we've been talking about all season. So in scenario 3, if Albion loses all 3 games left, they will be relegated no matter what else happens in the other games. So losing 3 games remaining, they're out. Okay, so hopefully everybody's still with me on this. Now, scenario 4. Now, if you're wondering about SSL, FC, and Columbus Elite, both on 12 points, they're in a unique position of being safe from the drop due to the following. So if Albion wins their 2 remaining games, putting them on 14 points, and Fountain City also win their final game to put them on 12 points, then Fountain City will still have to go down due to the tiebreaking rules. So that's the caveat for both SSL and Columbus in the final weekend of action. Now, the craziest scenarios I have in my notes, if Albion wins the remaining 3 games, however unlikely that might be, but if they do accomplish it and North Georgia loses their last game, Albion could earn a playoff spot on 17 points. This will only work if SSL and North Georgia do not finish on level points or more with Albion due to the tiebreakers. So if Columbus and or SSL loses, leaving them tied with a winning Fountain City will still go down because Fountain City drew with SSL FC and currently have an inferior goal difference to SSL, which is the second tiebreaker after head-to-head. And we need to remember that Fountain City did lose to FC Columbus during the season, which is the head-to-head tiebreaker. So win or lose, both FC Columbus Elite and SSL FC will be safe and bizarrely have a shot at a playoff spot if North Georgia and Pachuca loses their final game. And an SSL and or Columbus win would put them on 15 points. That would be enough to vault one of them to that last playoff spot. And again, the tiebreaker in this case would favor SSL FC, who defeated Columbus in the regular season, and again, triggering the head-to-head tiebreaker. So at the end of the day, Albion is the big player here. Their next three results will determine what's going to happen for the relegated teams and in one scenario, the playoff picture. You'll be able to see all the action on ASMG starting with the match tomorrow night when Albion SC have their makeup game against Kalonji Per Profile at Shiloh Stadium. Our very own Larry Weaver will be on the call there. So let's take a look at the upcoming fixtures. And this is going to be the most dramatic weekend, I believe. So much is going to be confirmed on this weekend, even with the makeup game between Albion and Leminho. That'll be after the weekend. So we have Fountain City hosting Dalton United. Big game for Fountain City. They need to try to get a positive result here. Dalton United searching for home field advantage, so both will want to win this game. It'll be interesting to see how that goes about. FC Birmingham hosting UMA FC. As we said before, FC Birmingham is already down. UMA FC searching for a home field advantage in the playoffs. So they'll want to get a positive result in that game on Saturday. FC Columbus Elite against Portros FC. Portros is going to be hungry to win. They're trying to stay with Kalonji Per Profile and see if Kalonji will trip up in their last two games that they have to play. Portros in a position they could take the division title if results go their way with Kalonji's final two games. Georgia Revolution is hosting Leminho, Georgia. This is another one with a playoff home field advantage implications. And so, again, these two teams want to battle it out. Leminho trying to secure themselves as well in postseason play. So we'll have to see how that is affected. Georgia Athletic hosting North Georgia United. North Georgia United trying to hang on to that last playoff spot. They could do it if they can win. They need to win in case the other results don't go their way. Otherwise, they'll be outside looking into the a postseason play at the end of the season. So they have a lot to do against Georgia Athletic, who are in pretty good form right now themselves, looking for an outside shot at the home field advantage in the playoffs. Albion SC and Pachuca. Again, Albion, it's up to them. Their destiny of survival is in their hands. They need to win games. They need to have positive results, and then they can survive. So that'll be interesting to see if they can do that. Hopefully that game will be streamed so that the fans can watch that live. And of course, right here on ASMG TV, we'll have Kalonji Per Profile against SSL FC. That's another interesting game because, this is the Shiloh Derby. It ends up the weekend action of all the games on the weekend. And though both of these clubs come from the same academy, they are very competitive with each other. SSL will desperately want to defeat Kalonji to claim bragging rights at Shiloh and prove that they are the better team on the day. Now, Alan Reed is now at the helm at SSL, and he should have his team ready for battle in this final regular season game of the season. And that will only leave Albion to play Leminho midweek before the playoffs. And there could still be an effect in that game to the relegation struggle and the playoff picture depending on the other games from the coming weekend. So I hope you were able to keep up with all of that. It's going to be a very busy weekend with so many different things to look for and things that can happen during the various results that we just went over. So be sure to subscribe to ASMG TV so that you can get updates on all this action and see the results that we'll report on, and watch much of the drama unfold on our broadcasts, our podcasts, our highlight shows. So you can subscribe and get notifications on those. Just hit that notification bell. Please support these teams by coming out to watch the games live at their venues. It's a great value for the family compared to other leagues, and you get to see the future stars of the game right before your eyes. So check the wonderful stories coming out on UPSL.com website, which is collecting stories on many of these players moving on now to the professional ranks after their careers in the UPSL, and many of them going on to the international stage with their international teams. Very international league we have here. And so only in the UPSL do you see these stories being told daily. So that's going to be all for now. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week as we go through all the results again on the next episode of the ASMG Back Pass.